once again to Energy Management and Conservation in Industrial and Commercial Environment. So in this program, before we actually get into it and into the nitty-gritty and the technical aspects of it, I like to share a little bit of my background with you. So how I got into energy. Before I departed from the corporate arena, which I was in for 30 plus years, this was one of my last set of responsibilities, and I still actually do some consulting for my former employer and some other facilities, energy related and non-energy related. But anyway, the responsibility I had was to actually pull together the energy management program for the corporation at the SBU level. So we had multiple facilities in the U.S. and overseas, and I was responsible for the energy programs in all those facilities. So I was initially just given a mission, in a very informal way that, hey, energy cost is so much. In 5 years, we want the energy cost to go down by so much, and so we're looking at roughly about 2% energy reduction energy cost reduction each year. Make it happen, and with little exaggeration, that's essentially all I was told. So I had to kind of start everything from scratch, meaning, first you have to, make sure that you understand the mission correctly. You don't want to go so far and then find out that management really wanted something else from me. So you develop a mission and all that, and so it's it takes a while, 6 months to a year, to get the process in place. And so all those nuggets of wisdom that I learned, some through mistakes and some were learned properly at the outset, some through seminars such as this one, and so forth. We were able to put together best practices and set up teams and set up missions and set up organizations in each of the facilities in the U.S. and overseas. And then the toughest part was to make it work. And that took another year or so to get everything smoothed out, get all the cogs greased and all that, because there are humans involved everywhere, and there are a lot of preconceived best practices or ways of operating. And when somebody from outside comes in and shares their best practices, sometimes it's not well received, and you have to kind of go through all of that and just make sure that you get past all of that and make the machine work. Make the process work. And so that's kind of what I did over multiple years, and also managed ergonomics and automation program and so forth. So that's kind of a little bit of my background as it entails this particular topic. So we have a sister program that goes with this, sort of linked to this, and that is the renewable energy program and renewable energy seminar. It's called, I think, Renewable Energy Hot Topics. Any of these seminars that I'll mention that might come up, that mention of which might come up through the course of the program because of the related terms and information that I'll share with you, you get details on those programs to our website, and we have multi-page details to give you pretty much a full account of what we cover in there. So that renewable energy program is kind of the sister program associated with this particular program. So with all that background put in place, let's take a look at this energy, three-faceted energy perspective. And really, we have a new revision coming out of this program, and with a very slight revision in this particular presentation that you're going to look at. And that slight revision I'm going to basically share with you right now. It's not very substantial. Instead of 3 pillars or 3 facets, we have 4. And I'll share with you what that is in just a moment. So bottom line, when you take on the energy program or energy mission for at the corporate level, or at the sub-corporate level, at the SBU level, or even at the facility level, you really need to look beyond just energy conservation. Anytime you talk about energy, if you just use the word energy in any kind of facility, the first thing anybody thinks of is energy conservation, and that's rightfully so, and there's nothing wrong with that. But the overall intent always is to reduce energy, overall energy cost, because energy really is a raw material. It's never documented, and in many accounting journals and books, it's not listed as a raw material, but it really is. Energy is just like materials you use to produce the product, except its energy is what turns those machines that make the product. So, and it is, a supply. It is not an asset. It's an expense. It's not a capital type of expenditure. So, so it is indeed, basically, it can be thought of as raw material. And when you start thinking of it that way, you can change the mindset at the corporate level, at the facilities management level. Talking about facilities management, as if you are over a facility, we get into our facilities management program. A lot of things that we're going to cover with you today are borrowed from the facilities management program, which is also titled as maintenance, engineering, and management program, and that's also an 8 PDH program. But anyway, so that's one thing that comes to mind. But if your overall objective is to control and reduce the overall cost of this raw material called energy, you need to look beyond conservation. You need to look at where you're getting your energy from. Perhaps you have alternate, forms of energy or sources of energy available to you that might cost you less. And so, one of my former clients was a chemical facility out in Lake Charles, Louisiana, that was part of PPG Industries, bought off by another firm, and I think they've gone through a couple of owners. It's like a mini city. They have their own exit off the highway. They have rail cars, and they have their own 3 seaports. It's that huge. And that facility had a total power generating capacity of 700 megawatts on site. Why did they do that? Well, because, and that was not renewable. It was basically natural gas-fired gas turbines. And so it's not renewable, but yet they did that because there were times where it was it would cost them far less to generate their own power than to buy it from utility. And really, most of the time, majority of power that they produced was their own power because the cost overall was less. So you have to look at your sources, and of course that plant was quite old, a chemical plant, and it's still functional. But at the time when they put the gas turbines in, the renewable energy alternatives like PVs, like solar heat type systems, which we get into in our renewable program, those were not really proven, and so gas turbines were the one of the leading alternatives as far as alternative source of energy was concerned. So you want to look at where your energy is coming from. Then, if you've exhausted and thoroughly explored and fine-tuned these the energy conservation area and the energy supply area, is there anything else you can do? Indeed, you can look at the energy cost, which is a purely cost approach, purely cost-based approach, and so. In one of the books I published, I'll be sharing some references of books that I've published and some of the material I know of through the course of the program. In fact, it was probably one of the first books I published many years ago, titled Finance and Accounting for Energy Engineers, but it's really for all engineers. And then we talk about how energy costing is so different than other types of raw materials, and how you can understand when that utility company sends you these free CFLs or free LED lamps, a box full of them, no cost. You start wondering, wait a minute, they're trying to they're giving me free LED lamps where a lot of times you go to Home Depot or Walmart or Lowe's or whatnot, and you end up paying $3 to $4 for a lamp, and they're selling you sending you a dozen to, and I've gotten 2 or 3 boxes over the last 5-10 years. First it was CFLs and now LEDs, and you start wondering, why are they doing that? I'm going to put these bulbs in, and it's going to reduce the sale of their product, which is energy. Why are they making me, cut down the usage of their product? Those kinds of things are what really make the energy costing aspect of things somewhat complex and esoteric. And so that in that book we get into that explanation. But here, basically, to give you a simpler example, we'll get deeper into this in a little bit. But right now, to just kind of illustrate this quick point, many years ago when I was in a plant, I was a utilities engineer. We revisited our contracts with the existing utility companies to see if there's something in the contracts that we could revise that could reduce our cost. And indeed, in multiple situations, we were able to change contracts, go to a different contract, or change them the way we metered the incoming electricity, and we're able to realize cost savings, which absolutely did not have any impact on kilowatt hours we were consuming or MMBTUs we were burning. It was simply change of contract and the admin type of stuff. And yet we realize cost savings. So there are opportunities out there which may not involve energy conservation, may not involve energy supply, but yet they would result in energy cost savings. The fourth pillar, you may want to jot this down if those of you printed this material out, handouts. As I've mentioned to some of you over the phone when we were discussing the scope of the seminar, when you do print this stuff out, you get a chance to, all the ad lib information and note it down in the right place. So